I'm really excited to welcome today's guest, Andrea de la Cerda, to the show. Like many of the incredible founders we've featured here on the COO Solution Podcast, Andrea is a current client of the COO Solution. But what makes this episode especially meaningful is that she's not just a client once, but twice. Andrea first came to us almost a year ago as the CEO of Clover Agency, a purpose-driven communications and grant consulting firm. And now she's working with us again through her second business, Candula Communications, which focuses on building brands, voices, and visibility for women leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers. With over 25 years of experience in digital marketing, brand strategy, and storytelling, Andrea has built companies that do more than deliver results, they empower. Whether it's helping organizations scale their impact through Clover or guiding women to build personal brands with soul through Candula, Andrea is a true visionary with heart, depth, and bold ambition. This conversation is a window into what happens when you invest in the right support, not just once, but consistently over time. From internal systems to external alignment, from team accountability to personal clarity, Andrea's journey shows what's possible when you stop doing it alone and start scaling intentionally. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Derek Fredrickson. Welcome to the COO Solution Podcast, the show for business owners and visionary leaders who want to scale with clarity, confidence, and the right support. For over 16 years, I've been in the trenches as a fractional COO, Chief Operating Officer, helping entrepreneurs align their teams, streamline operations, and remove bottlenecks that slow growth. I understand the challenges, feeling overwhelmed, stretched too thin, or uncertain about how to scale without burning out. I've helped business owners move from chaos to clarity, creating businesses that run smoothly and grow and scale. Each week, I'll bring you real-world insights, proven strategies, and practical solutions to help you step into your highest role as a leader. Whether it's optimizing your team, strengthening accountability, or building the right systems for growth, this podcast is here to support you in scaling smarter. So if you're ready to create a business that thrives without requiring more of you, let's get started. Hey there, everybody. It's Derek Fredrickson here from the COO Solution and the COO Solution Podcast. I'm very excited to welcome a special guest with us today, Andrea de la Cerda. Hello, Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation. Andrea is a client of the COO Solution. And actually, you've been with us almost the longest. I remember it was about a year ago in September. You were in Provence.
I was in Provence with...
That's right, with my wife, Fabienne, and we were hosting a retreat. And shortly thereafter, we had a conversation about possibly working together for your business, Clover Agency. I would love for you to just share a little bit about what was the thought process of you wanting to have a conversation about possibly getting fractional COO support in your business. At that point, when we met in September, the COO Solution had only been around for a few months. And so I was sharing what we're doing and what I'm up to. But what was it that kind of prompted that for you to say, yeah, let's have a chat, Derek. I'd love to know a little bit more about what you're doing and if you can help.
So the way I remember it, we were in Provence and I feel like I did a lot of, at that retreat with Fabienne, I think, I did a lot of thinking on where I'm at with this business currently. And I really felt ahead of my skis, maybe. I really felt like the business was becoming more than I was good at. There were a lot of compliance issues that were popping up. There were issues with accounting that we needed to really manage, like legal things that were really important to me to make sure that we got right, but things that I'm not good at. I was really feeling, oh man, I really need some support. I need people who really get this, like this, to be able to support me and I can lean on them. So when I was asking you about your business, which I know was fully brand new at the time, I felt like you were like, oh, we'll talk about it later. I'm like, no, I want to talk about it right now. You're like, oh, let's talk about it. Like, oh, when you get back to the States, we'll have a conversation. I'm like, no. You know that about me too. Like, once I make a decision on something, it's pretty clear to me what I'm going to do next. And so it all, I think, came together when we did end up having a conversation about what my needs were. I was looking for relief. I was looking to get back to what I love to do. And that's, dream up new things and new ideas and plan for the future. I felt my energy depleting every day because I wasn't allowing myself to be in a space to do that. To the point even where I was like not wanting to go to work. Like, that's a horrible feeling as a business owner to not want to show up at work. So something had to change.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I do remember the conversation. I remember in the back of my mind, but we're not going to talk business here. We're in Provence. We're sitting there.
Yeah. Like, we're cooking up some meat,
Having a nice glass of rosé. We'll talk about it in a week when you get back. One of the things I would love, you just touched on it, and it's a question that I get asked a lot, and I see this with other entrepreneurs and business owners where they have this realization that you've just shared. For you, you were feeling like you were getting pulled into things that are not your area of expertise, compliance, accounting, budgetary issues and everything else, dealing with team. And business owners always have that. They always have that point where they're like, I'm hitting the threshold of like my tolerance, of my excitement, of my confidence. And then sometimes they like discount it and they're like, but I'll still persevere. I'll still go at it. I'll just work harder and kind of make it happen. I don't need this type of level of support. I need some team members to be the doers, but I don't need like a strategic second in command partner in that way. What was the shift for you that said, no, I actually do need that, because it is investment of your time. It's an investment of resources to work with us and partner together. But what was it that made that shift for you individually? It said, I know I need this type of support at this level. And in some cases, like I need it now.
Man, we do that. I think there was a time in my business a couple years ago when I realized that I could leverage people who are smarter than me. So getting to, if I could hire people who are smarter than I am, whoa, that would be such an amazing place to be, not only as a business, but also for myself personally. I like to be challenged. I like to have thoughtful, complex conversations and solve big problems. But to do that in my own head, there's a limit to what I'm going to be able to solve by myself. And I realized how much I love that. I love the banter. I love the thought partnering. When I looked at it that way, that's when I thought, oh, wow, there's a lot of power here in leveraging other people's skill sets and other people's brain power. And so that, I think, was a shift for me and got me, for the first time in my business, really looking at how can I now leverage team in a way that I never really have before. So that kind of opened me up. Once I realized that and I let that go, then it was just about, okay, right people, right seats. Like, let me do what I do best and let others do what they do best, because we cannot do everything. We can, but we don't do everything well. There's just, I don't know a business owner who just can switch their caps from legal compliance and HR to coming up with a new innovative solution. That's just very difficult to do. And also, we only have so much time in the day. There's only so much that, we can produce actually in one day's time. So
exactly.
I was just thinking, like, I do still though talk to many colleagues who are faced with exactly what you just said. It's not time yet, or I can't afford it, or they have a hard time letting go maybe of the control of how they do it. I think there's another way to frame that.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into that, because one of the things I've noticed and appreciate about you as we've done this work together, and I've seen the evolution, it's been almost a year, of your ability to trust and let go of control. You've been like a shining example of that. And that's incredible as a business owner to model and to feel, I've got somebody that is completely capable, that I trust. Like you said, knows what they need to do and how to do it. And, the caveat is when you said smarter, true, but not smarter like intelligent smarter, but smarter like that's their wheelhouse. That's their zone of genius. And not everybody is in a zone of genius for everything all the time. So it's acknowledging like, that's not for me, but this is for me, and that's for somebody else, and that's not for me. And I think especially for business owners, like you said, there's so many things that we could be doing, but there's only maybe a small handful of things that we should be doing. And those are very different. And it's a mindset shift to get out of like, I could be doing all of these things, but I really only should be doing 3 or 4 core activities as a CEO, as a visionary, etc.
And I think that it becomes obvious because it's energy zapping. Look, I need to show up as my best self for everybody, no matter what's going to hit me today, right?
Yeah.
And I need energy to be able to do that. I need space in my mind to be able to do that. I need to feel like I'm not buried in activities that are really zapping my energy. And I think that when you're not working in your zone of genius, you're just making it happen. For me, I know it can be really exhausting. We've talked about this. This is kind of, I don't know if I should say it, but I don't have a lot of relationship strengths in my top 10, actually none. Right. So for me, like my example is, when I'm face-to-face meetings with people all day long, it takes a lot of energy. But if I have space in my day to think and strategize and dream up new solutions, I have so much more energy by the end of the day. It's really interesting.
it could be exhausting. This doesn't mean that we don't need to have meetings, but you need to, in your case, balance and have that in moderation with what you could be doing in terms of being in that zone of genius with your energy on the vision and the bigger picture and honoring that. Because you could power through and it will feel tiring, but then like the time has been gone, but also like your energy to then focus on these other things. It's like, I'm feeling depleted, like I'm kind of exhausted. I'll share a quick story. I don't know if I shared this with you when we first spoke, but I worked with a client once where every single Monday he had at 9 a.m. to 11, a 2-hour review with his finance manager bookkeeper. He's not a numbers guy. He doesn't really like all of the detail when it comes to financials. And the bookkeeper was almost kind of demanding, or she was the one that was, setting the agenda and said, this is what we're going to do. It's going to take 2 hours. We're going through charts and graphs and spreadsheets and data. And he was like, not only did I just spend 2 hours at the beginning of a Monday, like the first thing is the start of the week. And then like after lunch, like his Monday was like, my Monday's shot. Like I've got no energy left. I've got no mojo left. I've been like spending so much on this, finance piece. It feels like it's just exhausting. So I can completely honor and understand being able to respect your time and where do you show up and where does it matter the most for you, but also like for the team, but in moderation. So
that does sound exhausting. 2 hours.
Exactly, right? Even just talking about it. Yeah, that was a
fun.
Monday. I mean, what we did is say, listen, no more of that meeting. And your bookkeeper is going to do a 15 to 30 minute like Loom video running through financials at a high level, right? Top line summary. I don't need all the detail. And like, you've got what you need for the week. If there are questions that she asks, you can answer them on your own time, and you don't need to spend all this time having conversation. I think sometimes team members, they crave that connection and they want that, which is important. But also when you're the CEO, you've got lots of team members. You need to have some help with that in the case of like having a COO in this case. So when we started working together, I'd love for you to just kind of paint the picture a little bit. What was it like the first few months working with us, working with Gina, who's your fractional COO? What were the things that you started to see shifting even in the first few months as that work started to cascade into what you were doing every day, but also into the team and the organization and the impact?
It took time. Definitely Gina came in and there was a lot to do, really getting the lay of the land. If I'm really honest, I probably should have had more support much earlier than when Gina came on board. But there was a little bit of, when you clean out the garage, it's like a mess.
I was going to say, just some cleanup work to do. That's fine. That's inevitable.
A little bit chaotic before it's not anymore. And so we experienced a little bit of that together, but it was all good, and in the process of that, identifying what systems we had in place, what we didn't, where those gaps were, maybe where the people gaps were, or maybe we didn't have quite the right people in the right seats at times. And so because she was laser focused on the operations, she was able to identify those for me. I didn't have as much of a handle on that because I was managing so many things. So I wasn't surprised that there were definitely gaps in our system, but I didn't have the time nor the energy to fix it. So that was fabulous. And it took there was a few months where I remember Gina really leaned in on building trust with me. That was really important. I think one of the things that surprised me about this engagement was how nice it felt to have kind of a confidant or somebody that I could trust or somebody that I can bounce ideas off of. And like I said before, having kind of that thought partner, but also somebody who had my back. Mm-hmm. Because I think, as a leader, it can be very lonely at the top at times. And, there's things that you need to be really careful about sharing with the broader team. There's a time and place, and sometimes dealing with sensitive issues, and being able to have somebody that I could bounce ideas off of or actually talk to about that really alleviated a lot of stress that I didn't really realize I was carrying around. So I thought that was surprising, and it was a great positive about our engagement that I figured out very early.
I remember that. That's a huge value for me is trust. And, with Gina, especially, and with almost all the clients that we work with, being able to step in, make things happen and execute on projects, get the team together to make sure we've got right people in right seats. Yeah, there's maybe some cleanup or some housework that needs to be done just to make sure we're aligned in that way. But also we can't step in and make that type of a shift without that element of trust being in place. There has to be that establishment of credibility and understanding that this is a significant shift in how we're running the organization. We need to get the team members across the organization on board. And there may be some skepticism there. Who is this person? What they're going to be doing? Are they going to be evaluating what my job is? And is there something at risk? We don't want to come in and, I often say, shake the tree to see what falls out. We need to build that through accountability, trust, and really kind of establishing that what we're doing, I always say it's a win-win-win. It's a win for first and foremost, you, the business owner. It's a win for the team members, but also it's a win for the organization in terms of the vision being executed and growing profits and revenue and everything else. So that trust element is really, really important in any engagement, especially in the very beginning. And then as you've worked with Gina, shout out to Gina, she's incredible, she's amazing. What has it been like as it's continued to unfold? I mean, over the last several months, there's been no judgment. There's been some ups and downs, right? So like entrepreneurship is never linear. There's been some high highs and some things that have needed to be addressed. But what has it been like to have Gina in that seat? And as you've been able to step out in some respect of the day-to-day, relying on Gina, what has that done for you in terms of just your mental capacity to focus on bigger things or other ventures and just kind of think about the bigger future?
Oh yeah, it's very exciting. We're now dreaming up a vision for the company over the next 3 to 5 years that's really going to be game changing. It really, really will. I don't think we would have gone there if I didn't have her support. Maybe I wouldn't have had the space to really think about the vision for it to like codify so much in my mind as it has. But then also, who can't do it all. It becomes like too big of a task to try to like break into a new vertical or a new market. And that's kind of what we're thinking about now. So it's just so game changing. I really appreciate her. I was saying to her the other day, well, you heard me. I know the types of clients that she's navigating. I know because I worked with them and they're not always easy. And there are some real challenging situations and she's taking that on. It's not easy. And so I'm so appreciative that she is handling it and it doesn't always have to be me.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful.
What I love about having this type of a model, I mean, like I said to you earlier, I could talk about how great it is all day long, but hearing it from other business owners that are doing it, that are living it and kind of sharing that perspective. And I think like with Gina or with the other fractional COOs that we have when we work with clients, there's that trusted thought partner, right? That kind of say like that second in command, the person that you can lean on, that you can bounce ideas off of, that you can trust, that you can kind of confide in terms of like what's working well and maybe what's not working well, and having that exchange in that way, but also the ability, because of the way that we're wired, we love to implement, we love to execute, we love to make things happen. And so when there is that, I'd love to be able to move this forward. The mindset of like a Gina is like, great, I'm going to go ahead and make sure we've got the right people in the right seats. I'll make sure we've got the plan. I'll make sure the team's on board, kind of like dotting the I's and crossing the T's of the things that need to happen on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And of course, report back to you, hey, Andrea, this is where we are. We have questions or we need something to clarify, but you're not involved in the one that has to drive it. You initiate it, but you don't have to drive it. And I know, especially because of the way you have your strengths, I think it's, I'm not mistaken, is it activator or maximizer, or maybe it's both. You're like, let's make it happen and let's make it happen now. So can you give an example maybe of something like that that's happened over the last several months where it's been like, okay, I know we want to do this. I know that I'm going to need help moving this forward so it's not on me, and just kind of like, here you go, Gina, can you kind of make this happen for us? And then she's kind of, I'm putting you on the spot here, but just kind of initiated that all the way through to not necessarily maybe completion, but progress to make you feel really good about that.
Well, I think there's one thing that we're in the process of doing now. We haven't gotten it to the end, but we will. I realized we're moving into a 2.0 upgrade, right? We're like leveling up as an organization. And with that is I need to really set the stage for that. Codify our culture. So it's not just in my head, but everybody experiences it and understands it, so that I don't also have to be in the day-to-day, and Gina doesn't have to be also the one setting the culture for everybody, but it's just understood. And so we're utilizing a platform, an HR platform, that I think is going to help us with a lot of our onboarding and a lot of our training. And I think it's just going to be a nice intranet sort of system to connect us all. And we're all remote. So I think there's a lot of good that can come out of it if we use it really well. And I'm not the one to go in there. There's no way. Like I would play around in there for a little bit, and then I would be like, oh gosh, like I can't. Like, this is great, but I can't finish. Like it wouldn't get done. It would just be a nice idea. And so she was able to find the right support for that. Somebody who really understood that platform, and she understood the vision of what I was really trying to achieve. And so together they're diving in to really build it all out. I mean, of course, I will be involved when it comes to, what are the trainings? What do we want people to know? Maybe I need to be on video, and maybe we need to add, elements of more of me in the platform. That will all happen. And I'll be, collaboratively, working with them on that, but she will drive that to the end, because if it was on me, it just would be so unfinished. This is terrible. These are my unfinished projects.
That's lovely. That's great. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. As I get more and more of this space in my brain, it frees up. this is where I go, my unfinished projects list, to prioritize what can I push a little further down before I can just pass it off to someone and we can get it done. So.
That's brilliant. I love the idea that you have that journal or notepad or whatever it is, because in my experience, without this type of support, visionaries, entrepreneurs, they get those downloads, they get those ideas and they make note of them, but sometimes they kind of like discount it because they know that it's all riding on them. Or they feel a little bit of the overwhelm when they're looking at the list and like, but I have to do everything. I'm already carrying the weight of the business on my shoulders. And now I've got all these things that I know deep down can really drive the future vision of the business forward. But I don't take action to start them because I may not be wired to finish them. And it's also not my unique zone of genius to like move it all the way through to completion. So when you have that ability, that's why I always say an entrepreneur's job is to make it up. You have a team with the right people in the right seats and processes to make it recur and to make it work efficiently and effectively. Usually there's this gap, and that's the glue of a COO. That is the one that makes it happen. We make it real. I love that you continue to get those ideas, you capture them, and then every now and then I'm imagining like with Gina, like, okay, I've got another couple of things to put onto the list and move those forward. Yeah.
Well, I do have to like be careful of like not overwhelming everybody with all of my ideas at the time. So I get them going to like a good place, and then just try to kind of pass them over and not burn anybody out. But yes, it's really tremendous to have that support, because for all the business owners out there, most likely you're probably a visionary like me. Chances are you're not going to finish anything. Nothing will get finished. I mean, with all of the best intentions. That's just how it is, just how we're wired.
Shift gears for a moment. So we've been working together with you and with Clover and with Gina for almost a year or so now. You have another business. You've got Clover and you've got another business, Candula. And we just started working together with another fractional COO on our team, Jessica, working with you and Candula. I would love to hear a little bit of a similar arrangement, like with Candula, knowing that we've done great work on the Clover side, but you're also the CEO and founder of that company. And you have a really big vision and passion for that as well. What made you say, okay, like let's kind of take that model that's working over here and plug it over there? And maybe I'm simplifying if that was the case, but what was that made you say, I need the same thing on this side because I need this business as well to, achieve what its vision is supposed to be?
Well, I talked a little bit earlier about energy, that energy depletion. And I was feeling that a lot all of a sudden in this business that I love and I have a passion for. There was a time we were clipping along and I was doing podcast episodes. I was doing some speaking. I was on fire. I was like, this is fun. This is great. And all of a sudden I started to feel like, whoa, this isn't fun anymore. And sometimes when you're in the weeds, it's like, I was so in the weeds that I needed somebody on the outside to tell me what was happening here. I was getting a lot of messages pinging me on Slack and phone calls, text messages all day, like about payroll issues, about compliance. Again, I was back to all of these accounting questions and did you get that invoice out? And I was like, what? Why am I so tired? Actually, my business coach, who happens to be Fabienne Frederickson, she was like, what is happening here? Like, it's like, you should not be doing any of these things. But I know that, but I was so in it that I think I wasn't going to see it because I was just so focused on the day-to-day fires I was putting out. She was like, this is zooming way out. This is really not good. Like now it's time to bring in someone. And I think that because that is a pretty new business, it's only been around for a couple of years. I was a little bit in that mode of I'm going to do it. I know I'm going to get people who are going to support, and it's my vision and I'm clear on it, but there hits a moment, hit my limit. Now I was able to do within my zone of brilliance because inevitably things are going to come up that now I don't want to do. I think I needed that outside. I need somebody from the outside to be like, okay, this is what's happening right now. And then it clicked and I knew because I've experienced it. I know what it can feel like when you have someone, a second in command who's really, in there. So I know suddenly I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's what I need.
I love that. It's a similar thing to me. I mean, when I started the COO Solution, in a short months, I almost had to train myself or condition myself to not be the COO in my business because I was in a lot of the detail. I like the detail. I like creating the structure and the process. That's what I've been doing for clients for 17 years. I'm like, hold on, Derek. You really need to take off the COO hat, put on the CEO hat. Think about the bigger vision. Think about the things that you normally work on with your clients, but you're now in the receiving end. And so I brought on Nicole, who's our fractional COO, to do the exact same thing. And it's really a game changer. I appreciate that.
That's so funny because I was actually wondering about that with you.
Yeah.
Given just how you're wired, how is that transition? That's interesting.
I mean, just to answer, it's not been easy. It's been a bit of a challenge because I like to get into the detail, but I like kind of being that air traffic controller. I like to lead and manage and hold accountable the people, the plans, the projects, the processes. I like to take somebody's vision and then go and execute on it. And so I was finding my vision and coming up with ideas, and then I would go and start executing. And the next thing you know, I'm creating more and more work because I'm doing stuff with marketing and I'm doing my sales and I'm doing some stuff in operations, finances and everything else. I basically took what I do with other clients to scale their company and kind of put that into place. But I realized that I can't be the CEO and the COO at the same time. So I said, Nicole, one of the first team members we brought on board around the same time as Gina, I said, would you be willing to be my fractional COO? And she's like, of course, I'd be happy to. So we're kind of using TCS, the COO solution, almost as like another client because that's the model. That's what we want to walk the talk. I would love to have you share. So there might be some people listening to this or watching this, other business owners that I often say are in your before, meaning they are in your situation before getting the help of a fractional COO, and they want to be in your after where you are now. They want to be more in the CEO seat, having more time for the bigger vision, feeling the trust of somebody that's helping run the business for them. What advice would you give them, or what would you say to somebody who's thinking, do I need a COO? Is now the time to consider bringing on this type of support? What would you say to somebody who's just kind of mulling that question over in their minds from our conversation today?
I would say, because there is such temptation to do it your way, to maybe not let go of that control. Maybe there's a fear of, I'm going to hire somebody and they're going to let me down, or they're going to leave, or they're going to steal my idea, or they're not going to do it how I do it. And then a client will be upset. I feel like that's something I hear a lot. And oftentimes that will hold someone back or keep them small. I guess my advice would just be, if you could play a game in your head, just play a game and imagine that if you had people in your business, trusted people that are in their zone of genius, and you perceive that they're doing something that is not something you could do and way better than you could do it, like what could happen is what I would say. Like if you could just play a game in your head and just imagine and visualize 3 or 4 really strong team members who are doing the things you don't want to do, that you're not good at, and they love it and they're energized by it. Like what could happen in the business? Like what would it look like now? And that's what I would say. Because when I was willing to finally say, these are not things I am good at anymore, and I don't want to do them, and I realized other people were so energized and excited to get up in the morning and do those activities, that is like game changing. Now you're really leveraging your team.
It's a mindset shift for sure, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to look at yourself in a different way of how you're showing up in the business, kind of like letting go the old version of the business owner that got you to this point. And I love, if you can spend some time to really think and vision about what you want and what you want it to be like and the results that you can have, and knowing that it doesn't have to be just you to get there. You have somebody like a fractional COO and your team that you can trust. It doesn't happen like in an instant. You have to really think about it. And like you said, visualize about it, kind of feel into what that energy would be like in 6 months' time when you've got momentum and traction and you've got that support and that trust and everything else. So thank you for sharing that. I think I can tell people all day long, but hearing it from business owners like yourself is really great. Talking about mindset, I know that you value mindset, like personal mindset, in terms of how it influences how you show up in your businesses, right? In your personal life and your well-being. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, why is that a value for you? And maybe if you can share like 1 or 2 things that you do to always be working on your mindset, knowing that there's more work to be done in order to reach a bigger and better version of yourself. Like, what are some best practices and things that Andrea does to be a really amazing woman business owner of 2 companies, a mother, and kind of doing all of that? Like, what are some best practices or things that you can share around that area?
I worked with a CEO many years ago. I was his communications person. I would help him manage all of his internal and external communications. And I remember we would joke because sometimes he would be wanting to tackle this problem I'm solving. And then he would go into the woods and he'd just say, I'm going into the woods. And sometimes quite literally would go into the woods for like a few days. He could not be reached. No one could reach him. And he would tell me before, like, no one's going to be able to reach me. You're not going to be able to reach me. I'll be in the woods. I don't know how long I'll be there. I'll come out when I come out. I was like, okay, this is weird. But sure enough, he would come out and it was like he had the clarity that he needed. He knew exactly where we were going. He was clear on the vision, and then he was able to articulate it to the rest of us, and we were off to the races. And it wouldn't happen all the time, but it would happen every so often. And it was usually when it was something big that we were trying to fix or something that he needed clarity in his head. And he would also do, like before all company meetings, which we would all do on Zoom, and there's thousands of employees, right? And we're getting ready. He would turn off his camera for a minute. He's like, I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to do some breath work. This was before I was really into mindset or really understood the power of it. And I was like, golly, this guy, he's really woo-woo. I mean, he's out there. But I completely get it now. I think there is something like, as I have grown as a business owner and a leader, I realize how much pressure there can be to show up as your best self all the time. Your best self all the time. And with clarity, with some level of enthusiasm, with some level of an aspirational tone, we're going to do this together and it's going to be great. Like, you have to have a certain level of space in your mind and energy and to be able to do that, I think. Tough problems arise any day with no moment's notice sometimes. And I need to be centered and to be able to tackle in a way that's really centered. I can't overreact. I can't be impulsive. I do a lot of breath work. I try to do that in the morning, give myself a moment of meditation in the morning. I do yoga almost every day. That really helps me. I have these great little oracle cards and I read them sometimes. I like to keep up on my, horoscope and just like, what do I need to be aware of today that, the universe is telling me? And then there's also just a lot of journaling. A lot in personal therapy. And I do therapy at least once a week, sometimes more, and just a lot of journaling. The journaling, I didn't realize how powerful that would be. I kind of thought, it's just one more thing that they say you need to do. It's like, oh gosh, they say you need to do journaling. I don't know. And then finding the time to do it, it just felt like a chore. But I think I saw changes in myself. I saw changes in me as a leader over not a very long period of time, maybe 18 months, maybe a couple years. I feel like I'm different, and in a good way. I feel like I'm different.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. As a leader, as a business owner, there's pressure. There's a lot that's on us because we're not stagnant, right? We're not status quo. We're like this and something better. So as you grow and as you expand your abilities to reach a bigger version of yourself, things come at you. There's always a need to kind of ground yourself and center yourself. We talked about this other day about breath work. I've started to use breath work, and I'm no breath work expert, but when I do it, I actually do feel more at peace. I feel more calm. When I'm on my computer working during the day, I have like energy frequency, megahertz 528, solfeggio, that sort of stuff just going. I could be listening to other music. I like jazz, I like hip hop music and everything else. But for me, it puts me in a zen. It puts me in a zone where I feel like really grounded and really centered. And I love the example of the guy that goes into the woods. I mean, for you, it might be yoga, it might be journaling. For me, it's like when I can go skiing, I feel like I can totally connect to a higher purpose of what's going on. I could just be quiet. And I'm just encouraging those that are listening or watching, whatever it is, for you, there's no perfect recipe for what we're sharing that's going to be a match for you if you're listening. But find out what that is, because as an entrepreneur, you need to be grounded. It is a full contact environment. I think knowing how you can always feel centered and at peace and calm, it's really, really helpful as far as the well-being goes. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a nice to have. I think it's a critical to have.
Yeah,
I think it's
for sure.
Critical.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for sharing about everything, especially this last part, but everything about your journey with us, for sharing about the work that we're doing together. I've been really pleased to see the evolution of everything that's happened with Clover and about everything that's about to take shape with your other business with Candula. And so I'm sure our audience really appreciated our time today. So thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for watching today's episode. We'll see you next time on the COO Solution Podcast. Have a great day. And that's a wrap on this episode of the COO Solution Podcast. If you found today's conversation valuable, I'd love it if you could subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to get control of their business and scale it with a second in command that they trust to handle all the daily tasks and operations they don't enjoy. And hey, maybe you're wondering if now is the time to bring on a trusted fractional COO or Chief Operating Officer to help your thriving business scale with clarity and confidence. If you're tired of doing it alone, alone, visit thecoosolution.com and take our free quiz to help determine if now is the right time to bring a fractional COO to help you scale. In just 25 questions, you'll get a personalized report that helps you decide if your business is ready for the game-changing support of a part-time fractional COO. Let's find out together if it's your next step. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, let's roll up our sleeves and get to work.